This is day 521 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. If you would like to sponsor upcoming share or more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. Be very greatly appreciated. Today we're doing Siman Shin Yud Ches. Again, we're almost finished though. Tomorrow I'm Yitzhak Hashem. But Shin Yud Ches, Siman Mem, Sif Mem Zayin, to Siman Shin Yud Ches, Sif Nun Daled. Mem Zayin. For creation portion, also, this is talking about the Rambam, who's talking about a Bati Shomercha, which is Moli Mayim Chaim. So you have a bathtub which is full of hot water, and which you put into, where you can put cold water into it. That was the Mem Vav. And now we're talking Mem Zayin. Bati Kli Rishon. Some say the bath he's talking about is a Kli Rishon. People also say Tony that they can't put cold water in. They show he's coming Kli Rishon, so it shouldn't be bleached. The heat could be heated up by a Kli Rishon. When we man talk Tony name, Mutar Atoni Mutar, but to take water from the bathtub and put it into cold water is mitzvah chadot tato gavar. First of all, the cold water overcomes the heat. Usually when you put water into a vessel, the receiving vessel has more water than the pouring vessel. Because it was the opposite, it would be mutter even from cold to hot. If it was the no, not even. It was the opposite. In other words, the pouring vessel was larger, so they'd be able to pour from cold to hot. So whatever has the more water is the one which you can, which determines whether it's what's mutter and what's also. If the bottom one has cold water and the receiving vessel is if the receiving vessel is cold larger and has cold water, you can pour it into with hot water. If the pouring vessel is cold water and it's larger, you can pour it into the receiving vessel. That's the Rambam is specifically about a bathtub, which is full of hot water. Then clearly the cold water is less. Then he says the law of an urn, from which you took out that water, you have to put cold water in there in order to make them lukewarm. Put a lot of cold water. Hamat also, but a little bit, no good. These are Mishnah from the outside. This is B'Shalom. This is a Mishnah in of itself, and Shabbos from the mouth. Even though the conclusion of the Gemara there is that they removed it with the water. Zel Rabbi Yehuda, it's really Dov Shem Miskaven Osir. This is we're talking about that which it says that was you move the water from it, and then you can't put water in it until you move the cold water from the hot water from it. That's going to be all Dov Shem Miskaven. Also, I'm going to come on. The Rishim ain't Tzarich Lizet. According to Rishim, it's not necessary to say this because it's Dov Shem Miskaven. Bracket says Avshim Dakim Loshin Shepinu. Lo Rama Lo Kasad Loshin Zevaduk. Even though there's a reference to Pinu, but the Rama not mentioned this Pinu, removing the water inside. So then it says allowed to pour hot into cold, or cold into hot, be Sheni, and the Sheni because Sheni anyway doesn't cook. That which didn't say, like the Gemara says, kos in the language of the Rambam, in order to include also a mug. So it's going to enter kambati, that in conclusion is not like a bathtub. It says in brackets, I got the self of I have a klisheni, and mug is definitely a klisheni. Looking one made a kambati, if it's not what's the difference in the bathtub. Kon kambati have a klishon, nevertheless the bathtub is a klishon. Kasha, if you're going to ask in Ken Hechu Sabalamar, do we kambati have what's the habmina that settles like kambati? I guess this mug was used specifically to for washing, for washing or bathing. So therefore, we might say that therefore they were machmir. Beresh Rashi, Umasi Ten then Chiluk concludes that there's no distinction. It's the same like a cup. So the Rambam mentions a bathtub in order to indicate that even for washing, it's specifically Kli Rishon that's a problem, and not a Klisheni. We're not going to Klisheni. despite just because it's used for washing. With this, we resolved this issue from everything they asked upon it. Ayin Bach, I'm not sure I mentioned this last part from Africa of the Sefer is the brackets, but it is. That's one interpretation of Rambam. Another interpretation of Rambam is that Agabati Klisheni. And the bathtub is really Klisheni. By the time Shlosu Tzoyin Tochamin, why is it also to pour cold water into it? It's Klisheni. They Shemaim Omni Rechitza because it's water for washing, in other words, washing one's body. Omni Mekami Osam Harbe. They get very hot, which is Chiddush because they don't get hotter than, they get much less hot than water which you're heating up for drinking or for cooking. But anyway, as it says, the nation the they get very hot. Chacham made a decree, even though it's Klisheni. I was trying to Klisheni mutter, but other Klisheni it's okay. But if you establish your gam even in this large mug, which is also for rechitza, nevertheless, they weren't as marking it like a bathtub. They say because it doesn't have much water. But in Bati, which is a Kli Rishon, you now have to pour even from hot water to cold water, because it would be the Maim Shochitza Khmiru was water which is for washing. They were more makmir. Again, I'm not sure why. We might say it's cooler than water for drinking. There's one of those that say that the Kli Rishon feel have Beitzon and Marchamin also. They say in Kli Rishon, the lower scale is Kli Rishon, even a lot of cold into a small amount of hot is also. The low chen das I'm saying about the Shulchan Aruch, which is but that's not the opinion of the Shulchan Aruch, as we shall see. Mr. Bura says, nevertheless, you should be chash for this. You should be concerned and avoid pouring even a lot of cold water to a little bit of Kli Rishon water. Back to the Shulchan. If you pour cold water into hot water, even though it's a lot of cold water, immediately it's mevashel k'tei klipa of the water which falls in. Still shaykh with mayim shem yam you can't. It's an interesting idea that Arukh HaShulchan say here. K'tei klipa is not shaykh in water where it's constantly mixing, so it's never, so to speak, time enough for any part, even k'tei klipa, to get cooked. Sorry. The davar yavesh vaday kenu if you become a torzonin. By something which is dry, in other words, it's not constantly being mixed around, it certainly is relevant to say that it's mevashel k'tei klipa. I feel kind of say even it's hot water, it's cold water. Not water. Sorry, even to put a something hot into cold water. So to put a piece of boiling hot meat, the total to turn it into a cold sauce. Now to make it mevashel klipa, by the time it cools down, it's mevashel k'tei klipa. You know, it's interesting. Obviously, the Arukh HaShulchan is saying that it's only if both are liquids, the tzatah and the ilah, what's below and what's above are liquids, and since everything gets mixed up, so there we can't say it's mevashel k'tei klipa. But if only one is liquid, the other is a solid, I can say the k'tei klipa around the solid immediately becomes cooked before it dissipates. That's what he's saying here. To put a piece of boiling hot water into cold boiling hot meat into cold sauce. By the time the meat cools down, already was vashke klipa. Today is some second rich pancake. So we are there. Seem inside half. Mentas. What the tour writes is astonishing. To Shekosvi writes coast. A cup from which you poured out hot water. From a cup into which you poured hot water. From a Kli Rishon to drink. Mutar Raimon, so you know how to mix cold water with it. Whether he puts the hot water into cold water, or puts the cold water into it. But this mug, probably better call it like a saying mug is not probably don't know what he's trying to say, but it's kind of like a Sephels were used for the Tilas Yadayim vessel. I'm not sure what we call it other than a mug. A washing cup doesn't really capture it. Let's continue to use the word mug because you're starting using it. Started using it. But the mug which has hot water for washing, I feel cliche also taking something. Even with cliche, now allowed to put hot cold water in it. Because since they're for washing, stomach coming in harbe. We assume that they're very hot. With bashing with sunishim aram bohem, and the cold water which gets mixed in them gets cooked. Roast man will talk but to pour from them, from the water in the mug, will talk if the cold water is mutter, the tal gavar, because the lower substance, in this case cold water, causes makes the impact. So the halacha similar by kli rishon, for shasiyah once for drinking. You're allowed to pour from it into cold water. Also, allowed to pour cold water into it. But that's only a little bit cold water. I mean, that's loud cold water. But sun, it can't really get cooked. All they can do is get a little bit lukewarm. Mutter, the cold be diminished. That's a mitzvah. Arukh HaShulchan. Nur, his words are astonishing. The Hegel makes a shas. It starts as explicit. The sefer enokambati, that the mug is not like a bath, like a bathtub. Mutzete matzah, allowed to put cold water in it. The Dvar Mabin never was that the issue of cloud. Many words have been stated about this, but none of them resolve the issue. There's the brackets here. For the Shabbos Divrei Torah, Yosef Tamur, the Taz wants to distort the words of the Torah. That's more difficult. Mashkos Ashini Betur Ben Lashon Rabim Yachid. That what she wrote in the Torah. There's a distinction between he changes from Lashon Rabim to Yachid, from plural to singular. Timi Hani Al Keli Havi Lashon Yachid. On the vessel, it's a little singular. But on mine, Havi Lashon Rabim. On the water, it's a plural. By Gamakos Kosa Imohem Lashon Rabim. By a cup of also writes a plural. El Mishum the Mayan Kai, because going on the water, not on the cup. What Jusha writes is better. The Maskana Lokra Shimanasi, the Bata, also Gam Hamid Toksone, that he holds like Shimanasi that by a bath, it's also cold water, hot water into cold water. Ayin Shamatasis, it was Sefa and Kambati, in this respect, the Sefa is not like an Abati, that you're allowed to put hot water into cold water. Also, but cold water to hot water is written ayin sham. Agam said lo asi shapir, but this is also difficult to say. You can't lama lo kosadina bati. Why does it just write about sefer and not about a bathtub? Fidok. Nunalf. Unios dati nirei the divrei tur tzolkim. Tur is right. The bemis kosher dima bati u klisheni shisum nei shurechitza koshlasavnu. If the bati is a klisheni and it's because it's for washing. Why is the mug not like the bathtub? That what she said, well, the mug doesn't have so much water, it's difficult. What is the precise measure? Therefore, the Torah explains either that the mug is a kli shlishi, so only but from a man bath, which you take from the bathtub, that's why it's not like a bathtub, or it's not for washing, because mikra mali he b'shiras dvaira, as we find explicit in shiras dvaira. Maim sha'al, Sisra asked for water. Chalav Nasara Yoel gave milk, but Sefer Adirim in a mug for the mighty. Yikriva Chema, she gave milk fat. Chema in modern Hebrew is butter, but in classic Hebrew it's the fatty milk or milk fat. Cream. Fatty milk fat. Cream. So a mug is for drinking. Same with Shabbos, it's folim shel shemen. The Shabbos is like mugs of oil. But there's something like mir the dina kambatim mine. And then so he thought that it's we should machmir like a bath because there's a lot of water. Makes it cane. And he concludes that that's not the case. But there's another type of mug, which is the mug for washing. That is definitely similar to a bathtub. So there's he says that's a we'll let him see explain the base. Kosav, the Kli Rishon L'Shasiyah Mutzal Eros Yimei L'Toch Sonim. He wrote that Kli Rishon, which for drinking, you're allowed to pour into cold water. Mashiv L'Tzonim Motim, it sounds like even to a small amount of cold water. Remember, also L'Tzonim Misocho, because he said it's forbidden to pour cold water into it. Finding him at Sonim, that's a small amount of cold water. Have a harbe mutter, but a lot is permissible. Shema Mina, some of this means L'Shitimi Menel L'Tzonim. We allow putting hot water into cold water. I feel bim at sonim mutter, even though there's very little cold water, it's still mutter. The common, the reason is the avogav sonim mutter, even though it's a very small amount of cold water. We hold that the substance below is what determines the status of the case, and that the cold would overcome the hot. Anything which gets poured into the cold, the cold cools it down little by little, and it's not going to cook the cold water. That's what he initially writes. Previously wrote the issue of the leniency based on the bottom substance is what determines the case. When you drink hot water in the morning from a Kli Rishon, that sense of sonin and the tea essence is cold, the nosimat sense of sense, and you put a little bit of sense in the jar, when shoving away my roast, I guess in the container which you're making the tea actually, the pitcher. The shoving away my roast can be clean. You pour on them the hot water from the Kli Rishon. The shapi avida, it's okay because the tea essence was there first. It's cold. Then said lishmo mikol that's in sense. You have to first put in hot water in the pitcher. But how it says my sense. Then put a little bit of sense into the pitcher. She clay sheni, which is a Kli sheni. The chen anu, and he says brackets chen anu no hagim. I guess the minute is, he says, is to put the I'm not sure he's saying chen anu no hagim. Sounds like he's saying that the minute is to put the sense in first. But if that's the case, Mishnah argues says you can't put it in the sense first. You have to put it in second. Okay, but I'm not sure he says "Chen Nogim" which is going on. It's not clear. Okay, Nun Gimel. Avaloka Ken Kasu Rabbi Say by Tasu Sham Besugya. The Zelo Shor. The place to write nothing. Chamit Toksorin. Put hot and cold. I feel the Kli Rishon, even if it's a Kli Rishon. The Lo Mishum Tato Gavar. It's not permissible because of Tato Gavar. Because the butts and the bottom takes, but is determinative. Because then we have a question. Okay, what about current opinion that what's poured in determines the status? According to opinion that tato gavar, not even still, it's mevashal klipa by pouring the hot water in. The chamito sonen, mashma the sonen shalamata marubin. It's only if the cold water on the bottom is more. Because you normally put a little bit into a lot. That's where they can't cook. The small amount of that's a small amount of cold hot water which is being poured into the cold can't cook it. He says explicitly, if there was a small amount of cold water, we're not allowed to put hot water on them. Does that cost can't say that's only according to opinion which holds the law of Gavar, which Paskin like. The honor came of Tato Gavar because we hold Tato Gavar. Gavar because he just said even according to opinion holds the Tato Gavar. Mevash klipa they brim. It cooks the klipa. But Tur is most the Tur does not hold that way. He doesn't hold that you have this the factor of which was more the water being poured in or the water on the bottom. The Bishul Zelo Shak like Yavish. Because he told Bishul Klipa, like we said, doesn't apply to something which is only applies to something which is there's a Yavish, there's a solid. Love and Bayan Shiyam B'Sar not with water, which immediately gets mixed together. But those B'Sachim, Kasu Kain, B'Sachim wrote the same thing. The Davar B'Sar of Love and Klipa, stuff gets mixed up. Say Klipa is not relevant. And because Avaran Zav B'Sugin, I didn't show up. Fees are the different places of Shabbat says you Zoli between Chamin, Kli Rishon al sense time. But regardless, according to the places in Shabbos, you have to make sure not to put hot water from Kli Rishon on cold sense. Miladina nevertheless, halacha in those things we do. Laceland, but it's not a problem. Pishatur of Haram, but they said we're talking with him because many of us can permit this. Kamishmochel Zel Das Rambam Barash Baramach Shekam Sita Yutes. Then Bishul Achabishul Afilu B'Davarlach. That the tea essence can't be cooked because there's no Bishul Achabishul when it's something which is even something which is liquid. Ayin Shah. Brackets. Bami says because the Das to a Gamashal Chitzav Kliyusha Mutzi Techam Mitotzon. This is right according to the Torah, even in waters for washing. And Kliyusha you're allowed to put hot into cold. Let's say no enough arius, but it's saying after it's laying and say ma'amur. We don't have water for washing. We certainly don't have water which is harder for washing than we do for than for drinking. If you have low masha came with varab, doesn't sound like that. So from the Ramosha Gil and Bati Apli Shu Klisheni Ayin Sham. It says the bath, even though it's a klisheni, Masha's doing kli rishon. Sounds like kli rishon would be a problem. I'm sorry. Sounds like it's also about kli rishon. It says you put hot water into cold, and it doesn't iron sham. V'tzarachi and v'duk, and evidently it's talking about even where. You put hot water to cold water. Anyway, sorry here, but what exactly Ramar means, but be as that may. So the Chatzkila is supposed to put the hot water in and then the sense in. But if you do the other way around, it's not the resulting tea is not also. Nun dal. Zel shel Rabbi Seinu Bal Yishul Rab Sifi Beis. Mecham sheben mayim mecham shepinami men mayim chamin. If you have a urn which you took out of hot water, mutzah yitei tocham mayim sonen, moving allowed to put cold water into it. Get up short in order to make the water lukewarm. Actually, I said before to make the cold water lukewarm, but now to make the cold water lukewarm. Mutzah took my chamin took mine. It's only allowed to pour hot water into cold water, or turn to chamin or cold water into hot water. As long as it's not dealing with any kli rishon here. The chamin higher because kli rishon makes it very hot. If there's so much water that it's not possible they're going to be cooked, only they're going to diminish their heat, they're going to make them less cold. I feel it's even mutter by kli rishon to pour the cold into kli rishon. Actually, just shouldn't be on the fire. On fire, on coals, a place where it could get cooked. Also, it's forbidden. I feel gamre sonen, even if the pot is completely cold. I'm not sure how that happens. Usaka miyad, and even if they're completely cold, even you move them immediately. Came and shu makam shu efshal is bashik moshi's burb siyatishma because they could get cooked, as we shall explain. The dying show the mechem shapina men mayim chayim. In Irma, you took out the hot water. O shadayin yesh bo chayim. In order this hot water still in, lo yitiu rak mayim merubim. They're allowed to put you a lot of water. The more thing is possible, a little bit will get cooked. Pershik Gemara does actually to mayim merubim. Gemara says even though we allowed a lot of water, Avgav days the mitzaref mecham. Even though this is going to toughen the steel, the metal of the curate of the urn, and it's good for the strength of the urn. Meaning that the urn is of metal, barzel cham, and hot metal. When you put it on a cold, it can strengthen. Zel gemar melech is in fact the gemar malacha of people who really means people who make usually means jewelry, but here means metal workers. Nevertheless, they permitted here if you ain't on mitzkaven l'tzir because that's not intent. Secretion kind of is not necessarily going to happen, so it's not secretion. Then a bar shove of the 5 days, that's not clear it's going to come to this strengthening in this manner. Brackets, the Magamishi brings down which says that any Dovashim Miskaven where there's no whenever Dovashim Miskaven secretion is not relevant. It says there's no malach at all. That's not simple to say. So it's the kind of sugyas. Contradicts many sugyas where it seems like even if the Dovashim Miskaven secretion is a problem. Mishnah Atzmo Kasab But Perikop base, manager himself writes, Gabi Tziruf by I think it's called forging in English. Kasa mipnei she'efshar shlo yigil l'tziv. It's possible it won't reach that level. So it has to dafka not be a secret. When I talk about level like a mission Perikop base, I am Shalom V'duk, not our topic for right now.